Hello, it's John Heaton, and I've been inspired to tackle my top 30 Beatles songs, which is something that James Griffiths did on his channel. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Interesting choices from James there. It's a thoroughly personal affair, and it's a bit of a nightmare, as James said. But I had a crack at it. I've done my whole top 30. I'm probably going to just tackle 16 to 30 in this video and then 1 to 15 in the next one. So you'll have to wait for the top 15 till the next video. So without further ado, by the way, this is just my personal favourites. Doesn't mean it's the best songs necessarily at all, or not even what I think are the best songs, best in inverted commas, structurally, melodically, lyrically, or otherwise. Just some of the songs I go back to incredibly often, and hence I put these in my list. Number 30, we've got a track from the Hey Jude album, which was a single in 1969, the Ballad of John and Yoko. A very strong song in my opinion, tackled by Lennon and McCartney on their own without George and Ringo. Paul's playing drums and bass, John's handling the guitar parts, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere in the studio, and this song neatly and amusingly chronicles John and Yoko's activities during the bed-in and the months preceding that and after that, going to Vienna, eating chocolate cake in a bag, just brilliant musicianship from John and Paul, as I said, and a very catchy tune. I love it to bits. Number 29, we're going to go with the opening track with the Beatles, It Won't Be Long. Now, obviously everyone talks about, I saw it standing there as the storming opener for Please Please Me, but not a lot of people go back to that track, and it hasn't been overplayed over the years, and hence it's fairly fresh, and the energy on this song is just absolutely incredible, and the backing vocals are sublime. It's a very energetic, catchy track, which you should play loud, by the way. Number 28, we've gone with The Hard Day's Night and the Lennon track I'll Cry Instead, which is an album track, not one of the singles or anything. But Lennon was on fire, particularly in the 64-65 period, kind of dominating the Beatles' output more than the others. And yeah, this is a fairly undersung song from side 2. John said in the Playboy interview of 1980 he really liked it, or he liked the middle 8 in particular. I think it's got good melody and it chugs along nicely, and yeah, great energy to the song, and love it to bits. Number 27 was going to stay with the same album, Hard Day's Night. I'm going to choose If I Fell, the third track on side 1, and this just features some glorious harmonies between John and Paul. And I was listening to Babies in Black from the Beatles For Sale album, which similarly contains great harmonies, but this one is even better, I think. That was the third track on side 1 of Beatles For Sale. This is the third track on side 1 of this one. I just think it's a lovely marrying of John and Paul's voices, and a supreme melody from John, and yeah, absolutely faultless. Number 26, we're going to go with the single from 1964, I Feel Fine. This is my 1976 copy, when all the Beatles singles were re-released. And it was back with She's a Woman at the time, and I think it features some of the earliest feedback, and but I mainly chose it because it's so uplifting, such a happy lyric, and about the feeling good factor of being in love and stuff. Very uplifting, and one of the finest early to mid period singles in my opinion. Number 25, we're going to go with Beatles For Sale, and we're going to go with Paul's song I'll Follow the Sun, which is actually a very early song. I think it was written in the late 50s. And they just dusted it off when they needed a few new tracks for the new album, and played very nicely on guitar from Paul. Not sure how much the others are featured, but Lennon is singing the harmony vocal in the chorus, and it's just got one of McCartney's supreme melodies, and a very uplifting, positive lyric as well. Number 24, we're going to go with a track from the Let It Be album, Get Back. We've heard an awful lot of this track, having watched the Get Back documentary, but quite frankly, considering how much I've heard this track, I never get bored of it, and I'm going to particularly choose the album version because I think it's superior to the single version. I think the guitars are mixed louder, and it's got more energy. And it's just wonderful guitar solos from John and wonderful keyboard contribution from Billy Preston, and Lennon's harmony vocal in the first chorus is great, or the second chorus should I say. So yeah, very simple song, but absolutely an absolute masterpiece. Number 23, we're going to go to Sgt. Pepper, and I've chosen a track which also featured on James's list, Fixing a Hole. I think it's absolutely wonderful psychedelic lyric, and one of those sort of melodies which is typical of the period, 67, kind of a bit dreamy, and the lyrics fit the melody perfectly, and it just fits the mood of Sgt. Pepper. And I've partially chosen that song because I think you can take it off the album and it plays well out of context, whereas some of the other songs on the album don't work quite so well out of context, just my opinion. Number 22, we're going to go back to the Let It Be album, and I've chosen The Long and Winding Road. I know a lot of people are not fans of the Spectre production, but I prefer it to the naked version. And I think Wings do a very creditable version on the Wings Over America tour, but this album version, strings and all, female choruses and all, is just awesome. And majestic, I think, is the word that comes to mind. The melody is one of Paul's finest. The lyrics are kind of timeless, and you can apply it to your own life, although Paul was obviously writing about his long and winding road. Anyone can listen to it and pick up whatever meaning they choose to take, and it's just one of those songs which will last forever. Number 21, I'm going to stay with the same album, Let It Be, and it's amazing how much good material McCartney has, in particular on the Let It Be album, and I've chosen the opener, Two of Us, where John joins him to sing very moving harmony vocal, joint lead vocal, should I say, and the song, I think this was on James's list as well, I'm sure it was. Apparently Paul said it was about him and Linda, but it's very difficult to see how it can't be also a reference to John and Paul's relationship as they were youngsters, because they were written in '69, they'd known each other for 12 years already by the time this song was recorded, so that's certainly how I read into it anyway. Number 20, we've gone with an album track from Revolver, and I've chosen And Your Bird Can Sing, which again is undersung. It's got lovely guitar parts from George Harrison, good harmony vocals, superb version of this on the anthology where they all collapse into giggles, which I think is going to be featured on the upcoming Revolver box set. I just think this is a sublime song, and it's just play it loud, and it's just, I could have chosen any track off Revolver virtually, but this one is a particularly undervalued song by the general public, if not the fan base. Number 19, we're going to go with a track from Rubber Soul, if I can find it. I'm Looking Through You on side 2. A McCartney song. I think the US version is very interesting because it has the false start at the beginning, which was not only on the US version. The UK version, you won't find that. Lovely melody, lovely middle 8, and yeah, I think it was probably written about the Jane Asher troubles in his relationship with Jane Asher, but again, it's the kind of lyric that you can apply to any situation, really, if you're going through a tough time with a friend or a partner. Number 18, we're going to go with Ticket to Ride from Help, which I think is an absolutely brilliant single with a great drum part from Ringo, which I think Paul told him how to play. I think I'm right in saying Paul helped Ringo find that drum part. Lennon talks very favourably of this song in the Lennon Remembers interviews, and yeah, it's just you know, all their singles are great, but this one is particularly great in my opinion. And it's about a broken relationship, but it's got that kind of generic lyric where, you know, if you're moving on from any situation and pleased to be moving on for the most part, then play this song and play it loud. It'll always get you. Number 17, we've got a track from Revolver, if I can find it, and this is where is Revolver? I've lost it. That's the back cover. I'm going to go with Taxman, the George Harrison opener. He's just on uh, absolutely inspired to write a song like this. Okay, the lyrics are bitter and they're anti the taxman for taking most of their income at the time. That's how the 60s tax structure worked in the UK, 98% tax for those on the high earners. But superb musicianship from the other Beatles. I mean, Paul's bass line is very moving and fast-paced, and so is his guitar solo in the middle. Ringo's drumming, the backing vocals, the references to Heath and Wilson. Interesting to hear the anthology version with the earlier alternative backing lyrics about "give me a little money" or something like that. That was interesting, but I think the final version is the best. And everything from the count-in, the kind of muddled count-in at the beginning, just a great opener to what we all know is a great album. And number 16, to round off this part one of this video, we're going to go with a Paul track from the White Album, and I've chosen Back in the USSR, the opener, another track which, considering how much I've heard it over the years, I never get bored of it. Maybe I'm bored of seeing McCartney play it in concert, but when I go to the White Album, I don't think I've ever put on the White Album and skipped the opening track. It would be unthinkable. And it's great in mono. I was listening to the mono version of this the other day. It really packs a good punch, and it's a good listening experience compared to the stereo if you haven't done that. Very ironic lyrics in these latter days with the Ukraine war going on, with the lyrics, the Ukraine girls really knock me out and leave the West behind. And Moscow girls make me sing and shout, and Georgia's always on my mind. Back in the days when the Soviet Union existed and Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, which of course, as we know, it's not now. So great song, that rounds off 16 to 30 on my list, and I would like to just leave the other half for next time if you don't mind, so you'll have to be a bit patient. So thanks for watching part one. See you next time.